What's going on, guys? My name is Edgar. This is Gamerz Klubb. Today we're going to be talking about 10 or so tips about how any new player looking to start playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Or an older player who might be trying to get back into the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Can do so through the COVID 2019 pandemic. I know a lot of us are still at home. A lot of people are picking up new hobbies. Maybe Yu-Gi-Oh! Can be one of them. If that interests you, then stay tuned. Let's jump on into it. So today I'm going to be talking about 10 or so tips that anybody looking to learn to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Trying to pick up a new hobby can do so. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a very big game with a very big community. We wanted to do our part to bring out a few tips to try to bring a few more players into the game that we all love. So the first thing I want to talk about, of course, if you're looking to play any game, of course the first thing one should do is read the rulebook. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Rulebook is about 52 pages. And it goes over everything from how your deck is structured, items that you might need, the way the board is laid out, a description of all the types of cards in the game, the different types of effects, how to go about utilizing your cards, how to achieve a win condition in the game, and it also has a glossary on different things that you need to know, different terms for the game, how different things interact with each other. It also goes over a few things like when you can and can't activate certain cards, things such as monster tokens. So this is a very important tool to learn how to play the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! The next thing I want to talk about is the fast effect timing document that goes into greater details on how things are chained, things that start a chain, and how to go about that. This is a little bit more complex. I can't cover this in a new video, and I will link a lot of this stuff that I'm going to talk about in the description so that you can take a read for yourself. The next thing is the problem solving text. This goes into even greater detail on certain things such as the conjunctions then, also, and if you do. And there's 7 of these articles, and they go into things like this where it explains things like when you have multiple conjunctions in a card effect, what effects will go first when certain effects are activated, because certain things do miss timing in the game. If certain effects are activated at the same time, some effects will resolve, some effects won't. That's an important thing to know when you're playing the game so that you maintain a proper game state and you can thoroughly enjoy the game in the correct way so that you don't get into argument with a friend or with an opponent that you're playing against. The next thing, especially for deck building, that's very important that I feel a lot of people underutilize is the Konami card database. This has a very great search function that lets you search for types of cards that you might need for your deck. If you're looking for a certain dark type that's level 4, that's a spellcaster, for whatever reason, for whatever effect that you might need, this is a great tool to do so because it lets you search by card name, it lets you search by card text. You can type in keywords and it'll search for cards that have certain effects for you. This also shows you the forbidden and limited list because some cards that do exist in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Are not valid for play. They're actually banned from the game because they're just deemed as too overpowerful or too broken for the game. And this also gives you a list of cards that have been updated with updated text, because sometimes certain things resolve differently than they're intended to, because this is a Japanese game, because of the translations they get mistranslated, and when cards get updated they tend to post the updates here as well. The next thing I want to talk about is the tournament policy. Though there is no physical tournaments going on at the moment, at least here in California, because of the pandemic, we will be hosting remote duel tournaments, and I'll talk about that in more detail later on in the video. But a lot of these rules will still apply to those tournaments as well, so this is an important thing to familiarize yourself with if you do plan on playing tournaments. I know, especially for new players, that may not necessarily be your goal at the moment, but I think it's the best way to learn to swim is to just dive into the deep end, and the better players you play against, the better you'll get. And most players who play tournaments will also be very willing to help newer players learn the game a little bit better, because a lot of people really like to just bring newer players into the game and help them out to grow the community. Next thing you also want to familiarize yourself with is the infractions that can lead to either a game loss or a disqualification from a tournament, and that's all listed here in the infractions and penalties policy. Because again, though there is no physical tournaments, for remote duel tournaments, a lot of these rules will still apply. Now, once you've familiarized yourself with a lot of the rules and the policies, and you want to get started on to actually playing the game, there's a couple of web browser based games that are very popular, that are very important to mention. The first one being Duelingnexus.com. I personally made an account with my personal email, didn't let me log in, made a secondary email just for this video, still couldn't log in. I've never really heard of this happening. I guess this is just happening to me, but either way, I couldn't seem to make an account. But a lot of people really swear by this one. It's supposed to be an automated game similar to one that I'll talk about a little bit later, but I do recommend checking it out, giving it a chance. Just because I have this problem doesn't mean everybody will. And again, a lot of people I know do swear by this game, so I would definitely consider checking it out if I were you. So the next one I want to talk about is Duelingbook.com. Again, another browser-based game. This one also has a very competitive scene. It is definitely one of the more popular Yu-Gi-Oh games. Has a very nice deck constructor feature that lays out the cards for you. Also has a database that you can search for cards similar to the card database from Konami. This also is very good for when you're just building a deck in game. As you can see, there is a lot of people playing this game, and there's also a solo mode that you can use to familiarize yourself with the game, so that you can familiarize yourself with your own cards without too much interruption, so that you can backtrack and just practice if you don't have the physical cards with you. This is really good, and it does make you declare all your phases, and makes you declare your actions to your opponent. So it forces you to learn the game a little bit better, because it doesn't remind you when you have an effect that you can activate. So this is one of the ones that I really recommend using. It's one of my favorite games to use, so I really do recommend checking this one out. So the next one I want to talk about is YuGiOh Pro, the Dawn of a New Era, more commonly referred to as YGO Pro. This one does require a download. I'll link in the description the download that I personally have used. Now this one also has a deck constructor feature similar to Dueling Book. A lot of these games really look very similar in the way you build a deck and the way you search for cards. Also, they do have their own database. They do let you search for keywords, names, and even by effects. This one also has a online function that lets you play against players online, or lets you play single player against an AI, and it lets you choose the deck that you might want to play against. So it has a variety of decks and the nice thing about this one, especially for newer players, is that this one is a bit automated, so it does guide you through the process of playing the game a little bit. It doesn't necessarily let you misplay, and it doesn't allow you to respond if you don't have any cards to respond with. So as you can see, the computer just plays your turn as much as they can, and it, like, certain cards will let you know what cards you can search for, what legal activations you actually have. It lets you know when you have a monster that you can special summon from the deck, and it'll let you know which monsters you can activate. So even though you do have different monsters in your actual deck, it doesn't let you summon out something that you can't properly summon. That's one of the nice things about this one, and it will, if you can activate effect, I can't activate one out because of Inspector Border, but if I could, you can see I'll special summon, and it will let me know that I have an effect that I can activate. If I choose to activate the effect to search for something, it lets me know what cards I can search for. So this is a great way for newer players to learn to play the game. The next one that I want to talk about is YGO Pro Project Digness. This one also requires a download. Again, I'll link these in the description. These all really have a very similar deck building function. What separates this one a little bit to me and makes this one to me really good is that you can see all the text when you highlight a card, and you don't have to scroll through it, so that you don't have to find a way to wrap your cursor around and then scroll through the text. It shows you all the card text in the card all at once so that you can read it. It makes it a little bit easier. It also does have a test hand function, which YGO Pro does not, which is really nice because it lets you practice your cards. Unfortunately, like YGO Pro, once you misactivate something, you can't really take it back, whereas games like Dueling Book do. If you do misclick and make a mistake, it would be up to your opponent anyway for them to allow you to take back a misplay. Realistically, in Yu-Gi-Oh, if you're playing in an official tournament, you won't be able to take back your action or your card that you laid down. So this is kind of good in that sense also, that it forces you to keep track of what it is you're doing. And again, it does remind you of when you have an effect you can activate in hand. This one is very similar to YGO Pro when it allows you to, of reminding you and guiding you through the actions of your deck. So I really recommend checking this one out as well. This one's really good. I actually personally like the aesthetic of this one a little bit better than YGO Pro. I think they're definitely both worth checking out.
So the next one I'm going to be talking about here is YuGiOh Duel Links. This is an official Konami game that is free to play on iOS and Android devices as well as Steam. This game is different from the rest. It's not the same format. It is actually more similar to the Speed Duels card game. And this is a game that is really great for beginners because not only does it guide you through the game and your plays, but it is a more condensed version of the actual card game. The thing I personally like the most about this game is that Konami was able to get the original voice actors to play their part in the game. So there's a bit of nostalgia there when you're playing the game and you hear the original voice actors playing their original roles. This game is a bit faster paced than the regular game, but it is also, in my opinion, a bit easier to learn. But it works great because it is a mobile game, so when you're just trying to quickly have a little bit of time to practice, you can hop on this game, catch a match or two. And the great thing about this one is that it is cross-platform, so if you are on your PC or mobile device, you can play with your friends.
So the next one is also obviously another official Konami game, as you can see. YuGiOh Legacy, the Duelist Link Evolution for the Nintendo Switch. It is also available on Steam, Xbox, and PS4. This one also has a deck building function. This one does not have all the cards available. Neither does Duel Links, so that is something you will have to grind for. Book style gameplay that you can play through the story mode through. Now the nice thing about this one is that it also does guide you through the game if you don't know all the rules. It does teach you along the way. It lets you know what effects you can activate, targets you can choose with a certain card. So that's pretty cool. I really like that about this game as well. This game is really fun because it is an official Konami game. The production quality is a lot higher. The animations are a little bit better than in most other games. That's a little bit of more depth to the game is those animations that it does show you. It really does add a certain something to the game. It makes it a little bit more enjoyable. reminds you more of a little bit of the anime. It makes it kind of cooler, more fun to play the game. Makes it more visual. To me, honestly, it makes it more exciting. I know it might not be for everybody, but to me, I really enjoy when you see your favorite anime monsters. I think it's pretty cool. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is Remote Duels. Remote Duels is something brought out by Konami specifically for the pandemic to help us as shop owners continue to grow the community, continue to keep the community interested in the game, so that we don't stop playing this game that we all love to play. Even if we can't play it in person, these are the official ways that we can play with people. Would be Duel Links, Legacy of the Duelist, Legacy of the Duelist Link Evolution, and of course, if you have a computer with a webcam and an internet connection, you can also use your physical cards. And this has a quick little diagram to show you how to go about that. And there will be exclusive prizing such as game mats for those people who do choose to participate in Remote Duels. So if you're learning to play the game, you can play from home, you can stay safe while doing it, you can use real physical cards, or you can use one of the official Konami supported games. I'll go into further details on how to set up the game so that you can participate in the tournaments, and make sure to log on to gamersklubb.com for our tournament schedule, which we will have up hopefully by the time this video goes live. And of course, like with any physical tournament, you also get your OTS pack. Your official tournament pack does come with ultimate rare cards that are exclusive to the tournament pack. So if you're new to the game and you haven't participated in a tournament, that is hopefully good enough incentive to play. This page doesn't show it, but there will also be chips with Yu-Gi-Oh characters on them, exclusive prizing for Yu-Gi-Oh Duel Links. So that's just a few tips from us, guys, on how to go about playing Yu-Gi-Oh and learning to play Yu-Gi-Oh. Remember to read the rule book, study the policies, and once you get a good grasp on that, play your preferred platform. If you want to keep up to date with us here at Gamerz Klubb, make sure to follow us here on YouTube. Follow us over on Twitch. We do stream on there. Join our Discord if you want to start playing Remote Duel tournaments. Join our Facebook group. Follow us on Instagram to keep up to date with us and everything that we're doing. And if you found this video informative, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you want to keep up to date with the other videos that we're going to be bringing out on rules and rules. For the more complicated stuff, we will be putting that out soon. And if you'd like to help support the channel, be sure to visit gamersclub.tcgplayerpro.com for cards that you might need, and be sure to visit gamersklubb.com as well. Thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate the views that we do get. And until next time, guys, this has been Edgar with Gamerz Klubb, signing out.